Hello, good afternoon, and a very warm welcome to today's webinar. My name's Jackie. Today we're going to be looking at processing sales orders, and I'm joined today by Michael, who is going to be helping me out with questions today. So before we begin, in case you're new to the system, I do recognise we do have some regulars with us again, so apologies that we go through this on every single session, but it's good to have you back. But for those of you that are joining us for the first time, we will have you on mute for today's session, and that just means that you can't talk to us verbally, but you can send any questions that you have over to us. So if you do have any questions, please use the speech bubble, which has the question mark in the middle. That will open up a questions panel where you can ask your questions to the team. So it's just myself and Michael today, so we will prioritise questions based on today's topic, but obviously if we do have time, we'll be able to respond to any of the questions there as well. We do also have a handout for today, and today is very heavy on the demonstration side of things. So we have just put a couple of slides together that contain some really useful links for you, and also have some of the screenshots from today's session as well. Okay, just before we begin, just to talk you through what else we've got coming up. So today we're looking at orders, but straight after this, we're literally going to have a very quick break, and then we're back on live. It'll be me again going through the year-end process. So we find this time of year is popular as an accounts year-end as well as a payroll year-end. So we are running a year-end session at 3 p.m. today. If that's too much for you to take me for 2 hours in a row, then we will be running that again next week. So you can join us on that session then. We're also running a Q&A session tomorrow. So tomorrow is a bit of a first time for us. We're going to do a joint session together where we're going to be looking at all the previous questions from bank reconciliation and bank feeds. But you can also submit your questions tomorrow during that session. So if you've got any questions that you have on bank reconciliation or bank feeds, tomorrow is a great session for you to join, and that's at 2 p.m. tomorrow. In addition, it is payroll year end, so we do have daily payroll year end webinars occurring. So again, we've provided a link on the screen there for you to sign up for your payroll year end webinars as well. You can find more information on sage.co.uk/PYE. There's also recordings of sessions. So if you do see something that you want to watch back, don't worry, we will have a recording available later on today or potentially tomorrow morning available on that webinar link that we'll send to you after today's session. Okay, so what are we going to cover today? So first of all, we're going to be just looking at the process of orders, what that process looks like. We'll have a quick look at the impact on products. We'll then look at some of the defaults as well. And we'll just talk briefly around corrections as well. And it should take us around 30 minutes to demonstrate all of that. And we have up till 3 p.m. today for any questions that you may have on today's topic. So please do get them across, but don't feel you need to wait till the end. You're more than welcome to submit them during today's session. So first of all, let's have a look at the order process itself. So sales and purchase order processing is a feature of your Sage software if you're using Sage 50 or Sage 50 Cloud Professional. So it's not available in all versions, it's just in the professional version. So if you're finding that you don't have the particular feature that you're looking for, go and have a look at what version you're using. So if you're using standard or essentials, you won't have this feature, but it might be something that you may want to upgrade for. And it does link into the products and services module. So it allows you to start checking stock in and out. So again, that's not suitable for all businesses, but if you're using the products and services and you want to start showing stock coming into and out of the business, then this is the feature for you. It allows you to also allocate stock to orders and record items on order. So you can see what you've actually placed on order but haven't received yet, and what stock you've got in that you don't want to use for anything else because it's allocated to a particular order as well. It also allows you to create goods received notes and goods dispatch notes in the software. And it's possible to record full and partial deliveries of your orders. So not everything goes in one dispatch. You may want to record that and record separate invoices for that. So we'll show you that today as well. So briefly, just to show you a look at what that order process should look like. And like I say, today we're going to really focus on the sales order side of things. Most of what we cover today is going to be very similar in purchase orders, but the wording might be slightly different for you. So I've just popped them on to the same screen just so you can see what those processes look like. So when you're placing a sales order, first of all, you need to enter the order onto your sales order module. You then allocate stock to that order. And when you're ready, you dispatch the order. And at that point, it allows you to create that goods dispatch notes. Once the order is marked as complete, it would then create an invoice for you in your invoices and credits module. Now we're going to show you that in action in just a moment, but I just want to link it to the purchase orders. So as you can see there, the steps are very similar. You still have to enter the order, but rather than allocating stock, you can place the order as a on order status. And then when you receive the goods, you receive the delivery, and then you would update the ledgers, which means that all of those details of that order will then impact your ledgers, like your VAT, your nominal codes, your customer or supplier records. So the process is very similar, but the terminology just might be slightly different depending on which module you're using. So the best way to do this is to probably show you it in live data so that you can see how that works in action. So bear with me 1 second, we'll just flip back onto the software. And we have a data set especially set up for today's session there. Now, a key tip I always mention for customers who are new to the module is if you want to give it a go and have a little bit of a practice, you do have demonstration data in your software. So sometimes getting to grips of sales order processing and purchase order processing can take a little bit of getting your head around and how it will work for your business. So you can always use the demonstration data to put it into practice. It does mean you'd be using our data set, but you can always create your own supplier records and your own product records in there to try and sort of replicate real life. So if you do want to do that, you can go into File and Open, and in here you've got the option for Demo Data. The login for there is Manager, and there is no password on there, and that'll take you into a data set where you can freely trial the feature in your software. But for now, we're going to start off. I know we're focusing on sales orders, but I very briefly just want to start off in the purchase order module. So in my purchase order module, I've had to use purchase orders to initially bring some stock into my software. So I've placed a purchase order on and I've completed the order, which will make a little bit more sense later on, which means that that order is completely delivered. Everything's impacting the ledgers. And now as a result of this purchase order, I should have an item or items in stock. So we just have a quick look at this purchase order first. As you can see, on this particular order, it won't let me do anything else because it's complete, but you can see that I placed orders for products 1, 2, and 3. So I'm just going to close out of that. So they should all be in stock now for me. So as if by magic, if I pop into my products and services, as you can see, products 1, 2, and 3 do have a quantity in stock as a result of that order. Now, if I just have a look at one of these, so I'm just going to pick on product 1. And if I go into my activity, what we can then see is a goods in transaction. So a goods in transaction means that it has been received as a result of a purchase order. And we can see the purchase order number and the reference. And also we have smart links within here. So anywhere we've got a small arrow that links into the original order there for me. So that's produced a goods in transaction on all 3 of those records. So now I have stock ready for me to start selling. Okay, so we're now going to go over to the sales order module because now we've got those in stock. We want to start to sell those to our customers. So as I've done earlier, because trying to make the most of your half hour than watching me create lots of sales orders, I have created a couple of orders to demonstrate there for you. So I'm going to start off at the end. We're going to look at number 3 first of all. Now, if you open this up, if you're familiar with invoices and credits, you'll notice it looks very similar to the invoices and credits module. Okay, so it is a matter of creating the order, selecting your customer record and your correct date, and also adding your product codes in and the quantity that you wish to sell. Now, if your product item has a sales price attached to it, it will automatically pull that through for you. So if I was to add another one onto here, say product 2, it's automatically populated with things like the price, etc. Now I'm just going to remove that line because I just want to stick to my single item at the moment. Once I'm happy that I've got all of my products in here, what I then need to do is just to save the order. Now once I click on save, it asks me if I want to allocate now or allocate later. So what it's basically saying is, on this order, you've asked for 10 to be sold to this customer. Do you want us to allocate it to that particular order so that we can't use it elsewhere by accident? So I'm going to say allocate now, but you're more than welcome to allocate at a later point if you think something else might come in the meantime. So I'm going to go into allocate now. And then if we select close. So what you can see now is I have my order. It's fully allocated, but we've not got anything in dispatched yet, so it hasn't yet been dispatched. Now, if we were to go back and look at our product, so product 1, if you look in the status section at the bottom, we've got 100 in stock, but 10 are allocated. So we've actually only got 93. So already, although all we've done is allocate, it is impacting the product record. So it's assigning that stock to that particular module. So the next step we've got, if I pop back into my sales order list, is I need to dispatch the order. Now, on this occasion, I'm going to do a full dispatch because I've got all of that in stock. I might as well dispatch it in one go. So we do have two options here at the top. I've got the option to dispatch orders or dispatch notes. So dispatch orders is our option to dispatch everything in one. So that's a full dispatch. So I'm going to do that one first because we're going to do another demonstration in a moment of a partial dispatch. So I'll click on dispatch orders, and here it's going to ask me if I want to print a delivery note. So I'll say yes, and I can print now. And it gives me a list of standard layouts. Again, these can be customized just like your invoices can as well. So I'm just going to highlight one of these for you just so you can see what it looks like, but very standard. There's no values on there. It's just showing you what's being dispatched on this occasion. And like I say, you can add things like your own logos on here. So I'm going to close out of that. Obviously, if you wanted to print, you would be more than welcome to do that. And as you can see now, there's nothing any longer allocated to this order, but we've now moved into a status of complete. So the order can't go any further at this point from this window. If we just open up the order though, and OK on here, what you'll see is we've got some options down the left-hand side that you don't see in the invoicing module. We have a dispatched tab. So in here you can see we've got a copy of the goods dispatch note if we wanted to print that, or if we wanted to review that, we can do. And you can also see an invoices tab. So as a result of it being dispatched, it's created an invoice in my invoices and credits list. So I can see which invoices that is linked to. So if we pop into my invoices and credits, now we've got an invoice sitting in the invoice list, linking back to that original sales order. But as yet, it's still not touching my ledgers. It's still not updating on the customer. It's still not going to be picked up on things like my VAT return, etc. Okay, so I need to make sure now that I update the ledgers so that it impacts my VAT return and all of my ledgers as well. Okay, so if I update ledgers, just like I would do for a standard invoice from invoices and credits, that marks it as posted, and it gives me a printout to show me what has been posted onto the ledgers there. Some great questions coming through there, so hopefully Mike will be able to pick those up for you. If not, we'll see if we can cover those for you, but keep them coming. He is busy responding for you as we speak. Okay, so that was a very simple sales order in terms of a full dispatch. Everything's going in one go. Okay, what we're going to do next is just show you a part delivery. Okay, so for this, I'm going to go back to order number 1 and we'll show you a part delivery on this particular occasion. So again, I'm just going to go back into the order. So again, we've just added on the products that we wanted on this occasion. So on this occasion, we're selling 3 different items, 5 of each in this case. If I go to save, it will ask me again if I want to allocate now or allocate later. So I'll say allocate later just to show you the other options. So at the moment, it's still just sitting there, but there's nothing allocated. So I can, at any point, go into allocate stock and it will pick up the ones that I've got highlighted. So I've only got number 1 highlighted and we've been able to highlight there. Now there might be a change of heart. I might think, actually, I need to use that stock elsewhere and I've allocated it to this order. We do have an option to amend allocations. And this is where I can, if I want to, take it off order. So I could unallocate the stock or I could hold the order temporarily as well. So we do have options at this point to sort of undo what we've done and re-establish it if we need to. So if I unallocated the stock, we just go back to square one there. I'm going to go back to allocate the stock and make sure that that's allocated. Okay, so this time I want to do a part dispatch. I've not got everything available at the moment. So I want to do a part dispatch. So rather than dispatch orders, I want to select the option for dispatch notes. And I'm going to select my customer from the list. It's because I've got them highlighted there at the moment. And in this window here, what I can do is I can dispatch all if I want to, but I can actually just type into here how many of each I'm dispatching. So I'm going to do 2 of each on this occasion, and then I'm going to save. Again, it'll ask me if I want to print the goods dispatch note. So I'm going to say print later. Oops. And close. So now what you'll notice is it's fully allocated, but in the dispatched column, we've got part. So it means that part of that has been dispatched. And what that has done is it's created an invoice for the part that has been dispatched. So we've got the invoice there, which can be updated to the ledgers because it could be a while down the line before we actually dispatch the other part of that, particularly at the moment when lots of us are relying on stock coming in or waiting on stock that's maybe not in the right place at the moment. So it might be a while, so we might want to update this one and then invoice for the rest at a later point. So if I then wanted to complete this order, so say for example it is 2 or 3 weeks down the line, and we wanted to complete the order, we've got the same 2 options. Both of them will work. So we could dispatch the order, which would just complete what's left on that order. Or again, we could go into dispatch notes and we could do a further part dispatch if we wanted to. So I could decide on this occasion I'm going to do 2 again. And I'll print that one later as well. Doesn't seem to like me printing. It seems to close it down. And then again, it's still showing as part dispatched. So for my final one, I'm just going to dispatch orders and finish that off. So now it's complete. Once everything's been dispatched, no matter how many times you dispatch it, it will eventually go into a complete status. But if we have a look at that sales order now, and go into the dispatch tab, you can see I now have 3 different goods dispatch notes applied to that particular sales order, all of which can be reprinted if I want to. And again, they don't show any values, they just show the quantities that have been dispatched. We also have the invoices as well. So we have 3 invoices as a result of that 1 sales order. So we can track them. If we needed to do corrections, we can track the orders that we've got there. Now, the last one I wanted to show you is a really good tip. So I wanted to show you this particular one. So for this one here, we've got an order for a product that at the moment I don't have in stock. So what we do have at the moment is a shortfall option. So it's a feature not everyone knows about, but I think it's great. And what it allows me to do is look at where I've got a shortfall of products across my sales orders. Otherwise, you would have to go through them all manually. So this does a quick check for you. And here I can see that in order to do this particular order, I need 10 of product 4. And what it allows me to do then, once I've highlighted it, I can click on create order, and what it will do is it will create a purchase order in the purchase order list using the supplier details that I've popped in to the product record as the default supplier. And it will allow me to create that, to get that ordered straight away from sales orders, rather than having to remember the details, jot them all down, go into a different module, and then going into them in manually. So there you go, it's created the order for me there immediately. So I could pop in the price that I've been given. Just going to say 50 on this occasion and save. And then if we go into the purchase order module, you can see that that's been added really nice and easy from the sales order window in one step. So like I say, I really like that feature, particularly if you've got lots of products, lots of orders, and you're not quite sure, particularly at the moment where everything's quite hard to sort of get hold of things. We probably don't have as much in stock as we would normally, so it's allowing you to just do that check. So that's that's sales orders, the process in a nutshell. We've got some really good features as well in here to help you if you've got lots of the same orders coming through or lots of orders that are very similar. We have a duplicate option. So I always recommend this if a customer's got a particularly large order. It could be, it could be 1 or 2, but it could be, 10, 15 lines long. Rather than you sitting and typing that out again, what you can do is you can highlight the order that you want it to be similar to and duplicate that order. The duplicate option just brings up that order, and from here you could change it to a different customer, but you can also add products onto there. So this is probably not the greatest example because it only had 1 product on, but if you did have one that had a lot of products on, you just wanted to change 1 or 2 things, the duplicate option is a great feature for that. And like I say, you can change your customer as well on there. We also have the option for recurring items. So what you can do with recurring items, I'll show you Memorize and Recall as part of this, is if you know that a customer is going to purchase an item or do an order on a regular basis, is you can memorize the order. Okay, so I'm just going to pop the word test in here, and it might be a monthly order or a weekly order. You can specify a frequency on here if you want. You don't have to specify a frequency. You can just save it so that you can pull it up again next time without putting a frequency on there. But if it's a monthly one, you could pop a monthly reminder on there to reprocess that. So just pop one in there. Okay, so I could just recall at any point and load that up at a later point. Or like I say, I could wait and on when we meet the date that we've specified, so this example, the 23rd of the month, it would give me a notification to say I have recurring entries, do I want to process them? So for more information on recurring entries, there's a little bit more to it, check out the Help Centre, type in recurring items or recurring entries, and it'll give you lots of information on how you can use those recurring features there. But that's a great feature if you're going to have regular orders. Okay, so we also have the quotes feature, so quotations. This can link into sales orders as well as invoices. So when you create a quote within here, it can be specified to be a sales order quote. So if you want to do a quotation step prior to a sales order going live, you can do. Again, we're not going to go into too much detail on that particular one, but I do just want to make you aware that quotes does link into your sales orders as well as your invoicing. Okay, so I do want to just touch on corrections. Okay, so corrections can cause a little bit of confusion, and I do just want to give anyone who's new to sales orders that heads up. Okay, it's always really important to take a backup of your data regardless of what you're doing, but if you're new to sales orders, I certainly recommend taking a few more backups for the first few days, just in case you make any mistakes, because sometimes correcting them can be a bit tricky. Okay, so if you were to make an error on a sales order, unfortunately, we don't have a button that deletes the whole thing. Okay, what we would need to do is do it step by step. So, for example, If I wanted to delete, say, order 3 because there's been an issue with that, what I first of all need to do is check out the order, and I need to have a look and see what invoices have been created as a result of that order. So as you can see here, invoice number 1 has been created. So what I need to do, then I can delete the order from this list here. I'm just going to highlight the one there. If you were to delete an order that was allocated, it would take those allocations away, so the stock would no longer be allocated to the order. As you can see, my sales order has disappeared. However, if we look at invoices and credits, it hasn't taken the invoice with it. So we still have an invoice here that's live and is also posted. So if it's not posted, that's fine. We can just delete the invoice from this list. But because this is posted, we need to also consider that it's now also got a transaction on our audit trail. So we have two options at this point. We could delete the order and the resulting, the invoice and the resulting transaction. So we'd have to find the transaction that was relating to this in transactions and delete that also. But then we would also have to adjust the stock back in manually. So that would be an adjustment in transaction. The other option, because it is posted, is I could credit the invoice. And that would take care of it all for me. That would put my items back into stock as a goods returned. So we do have two options there. But like I said, I just wanted to highlight this because this is where people do tend to go wrong. We delete the order and think it's all done. You do need to follow it right the way through to the transaction and the stock levels. So if I was to credit the invoice, just do this as an example here. This credits the whole invoice. So again, if you had a 20-line invoice, it would credit all 20 lines for you. So a really good time saver again. And if I was to save this and allocate it and update it, that would all take care of the transaction on the transactions list, but also of my stock as well. Okay, so that's probably your best option if that will work for you. If not, it's going to need to be a manual dealing with. Now, we do have an article that talks you through the steps, which I'll show you in just a second, because I appreciate that's a lot to take on, and I don't expect you to remember that particular part, but it is something I'd just like to give a heads up on. It's something that does call a lot of calls into technical support to sort of deal with those problems afterwards. So just before we go back into the PowerPoint, I do just want to show you some of the defaults as well. So we can set up defaults on these orders to make life a little bit easier again going forward. So if we go into settings, we have an option for invoice and order defaults. And within here, we've got 3 different tabs that we can look at. We've got the general tab. So this allows us to do things like lock auto number. So if you've got someone new who might think they can type in their own order numbers, you can lock the auto number if you wish to do so. You can also switch off that prompt to allocate stock when you're doing sales orders. So if you want to do it manually all the time, you can turn that particular feature off there as well. You can also in here choose what you convert quotes to. So at the moment, mine's set to go to sales orders. The other option is to convert them straight to invoice. Okay, so if you find that yours is only saying an invoice when you're in quotes, you might need to pop into here and change it to sales orders. We also have the options tab, and this is where if you've been using a different system or you've got a system in place at the moment, you might not want to start your sales orders on order number 1. So you could come into here and change your sales order starting from, and you can do the same with your invoices, your credits and your purchase orders as well. And finally, update ledgers, not so much on the sales order side, but it allows you when you're updating ledgers, which is in the invoices and credits, to specify what you're going to update the transaction reference with. So you've got a few different options there as well. So it's settings, invoice and order defaults, and you can set up those defaults to make your life a little bit easier, again, when you're processing and updating them automatically. Okay, so I'm going to pop back onto the PowerPoint. It's amazing how quickly time goes when we do these sessions. We're just going to run through a little summary before we open the floor to any final questions that we may have. Okay. So as I mentioned, we've got a lot of useful links for you. So in particular, the third one down, delete invoices, credit notes, or sales orders. It's a really good step-by-step process. It asks you questions based on what you respond to. It will give you the best way of resolving your particular issue. So it's really hard to try and fit that all into that sort of 5-minute slot we had available for it. That is a really good article. So if you've made a mistake and restoring a backup isn't an option, please do check out that particular one. But in summary, the sales order module allows you to record your orders and show the goods being dispatched, but also recording them coming in if you're using purchase orders. It allows you to do goods dispatch notes. So lots of people are looking for goods dispatch notes, and it will allow you to do that for both your full and partly dispatched orders. It allows you to create the customer invoice, and when you update ledgers, that updates the stock and also takes the stock out of stock for you and updates the ledgers for VAT and onto the customer record as well. And remember that shortfall option. So if you are using purchase orders as well and you do have a shortfall, you can use that shortfall option to produce a purchase order from within the sales order window, again saving you time as well. So I've provided links on pretty much all of the things we've covered today there, including how to cancel and hold, take items off stock, unallocate stock, etc. So there's lots of links on there for you to find. Okay, so just a reminder, for tomorrow we are doing bank fees. So please do join us at 2 o'clock tomorrow if you want to go through any questions around bank fees or bank reconciliation. But for now, it's over to the questions. While we're just seeing if any questions come through, I am just going to show you the help centre. So this is the best place to go if you've got any questions or queries. We've got a help centre that's available for you. Just see if I can load that up. So I'll pop back into my software to do so. The best way of getting there is to go into help and then help centre. And within the help centre here, this is where you can type in absolutely anything. So you could type in sales orders, and it'll give you a whole list of things. So there's the article I mentioned earlier around the corrections. So it asks you what you're trying to delete and talks you through step by step what you need to do there. It's also great if you want to find our recordings, you can type in the word webinars. Within here, that'll take you to our webinars page, and in here we also have a link to the recordings as well. So you can see all the upcoming webinars are there. Okay, so I'm just going to pop on to the question. I think Michael's pretty much on top of most of them there. Let's have a look. See if there's any we haven't. Okay, quick question there around, can you dispatch several orders for the same customer on the same delivery note? No, it's not. It would only give you one. You can do multiple at the same time, but it would give you different dispatch notes. So if you were to go into your sales order list, you can highlight multiple orders and dispatch and go through them that way, but it would give you different dispatch notes onto the different customer records. Sorry, for the different orders there. So just seeing if there's any questions that might be valuable to sort of answer to the group. I think he's answered them to most of the questions so far. Otherwise, we'll just pop out a last call for any questions. So please don't hang on. We will hang on till 1:45 if there's enough questions to keep us going. If not, we will end the session early so we can get turned around for year end at 3 o'clock. But loads of great questions there, so thank you for submitting them across. Okay, so I'll put myself on mute for just one moment. While we see if we can get those questions answered there for you. Okay, there's just a question coming through there. I think Michael is answering it, but I'll still jump on there. So just asking what happens with payments. So payments are just like if you dealt with them as an invoice or as a batch invoice. So if we have a look at my customer list now, sorry, I need to update my ledgers. So I'm going to update these invoices to ledgers first, just to make sure that they're on the record. So these are now active on that customer record. So you can see I've got a balance there. Okay, so what I can do now is I can just go and pay them as I would normally through the bank option. So just to be treated in the same way. There are additional features. So I think this is what Michael's touched on, is on the sales order itself. If we just open up the order, we do have a payment tab as well. And on here, what you can do is you can link it into an Opeo account where you can do the deposit by card, or you can record that the payment's already been received, or post a payment on account when it's updated to ledgers. So there's a few different options on there as well. So you can do one at the time of creating the sales order, or you can just process it as you would do as a normal bank transaction. So it won't actually mark the sales order as paid, but you'll be able to trace that through the activity on there. Okay, so it looks like the questions are pretty quiet on there, so we'll look to end the session in the next few moments there. So thank you very much again for joining us today. We hope to see a few of you on the next session in about 20 minutes or so, where we'll go through the year-end session. If not, again, we'll be back tomorrow and next week, so please do join us on some future sessions. You're more than welcome to join us on as many occasions as you want for as many sessions as you wish to attend as well. You will be asked for some feedback when you leave today's session, so please do, when you're leaving today, drop us some feedback so that we can look to improve these sessions for any future sessions you may be joining. So take care, stay safe, and we'll hopefully see you very soon.